The B-52 Stratofortress, a strategic bomber and one of America's greatest symbols of military power, once embodied the pride of the U.S. Air Force. When deployed in the Vietnam War, it carried out massive bombing missions designed to impose strategic pressure on North Vietnam. Yet if the war had continued, or if Vietnam's air defense and countermeasure tactics had evolved further, the extinction of the B-52 over Vietnamese skies would not have been a far-fetched scenario. Below are the arguments, analyses, and historical evidence that support this conclusion. Vietnam is a nation with a 1,000-year history of defending its independence, a country that has never bowed to any invader. The strength of the B-52 lies in its bombs and cold steel, but the strength of the Vietnamese people lies in their willpower, patriotism, and unyielding desire for peace and freedom. When every heart beats for the homeland,
target confirmed.
Even the
B-52
flying
approaching
fortresses become nothing more than lifeless iron shadows across Vietnam's fiery skies. They fought not only with weapons, but with burning love for their country and a deep longing for independence and peace. Before such spirit, every machine of war, every block of steel became small and fragile. It was that same spirit of liberation that turned the B-52 from a symbol of power into a symbol of arrogance defeated. And that is why, despite carrying thousands of tons of bombs, the B-52 could never destroy the faith, courage, and love for freedom that lived in the hearts of the Vietnamese people. The B-52 is massive, heavy, and slow compared to modern fighter aircraft. In aerial warfare, such size makes it easily detectable by radar and surface-to-air missile SAM guidance systems. It lacks the agility and self-defense capabilities of smaller stealth aircraft, making it a large, predictable target. One of the most painful lessons for the U.S. Air Force came during Operation Linebacker II, December 1972. In just 11 days of intensive bombing, the United States officially lost 16 B-52 bombers, according to U.S. reports, while North Vietnam claimed 34 were destroyed. Some sources, including the Vietnam War POW and Aircraft Losses Archive, estimate total B-52 losses, including irreparable damage, between 22 and 27 aircraft.
Enemy approaching from the north!
North Vietnamese forces effectively used SA-2 guideline missiles, guided radar systems, and a multi-layered air defense network. As the B-52s followed predictable flight routes, Route Pack 6, Vietnam learned to anticipate their paths and deploy missile batteries accordingly. According to an analysis published in Air Force magazine, the B-52's vulnerabilities became highly apparent when flying over Route Pack 6 near Hanoi, where North Vietnamese radar systems could easily track and engage the bombers. Even with electronic countermeasures, altitude changes, and tactical adjustments, the increasingly sophisticated Vietnamese defenses made the B-52 a hunted target mapped in advance. According to Vietnam War POWs and aircraft losses, about 19 B-52s were destroyed in combat, all due to SA-2 missile impacts. Another 86 aircraft were lost due to operational causes, accidents, malfunctions, during the war years. In Operation Arc Light, 1965 to 1973, the U.S. lost around 31 B-52s, 18 to enemy fire, and 13 to technical or operational issues. These numbers show that even outside direct combat, the B-52 suffered severe attrition from technical and environmental stress. During the December 1972 bombing of Hanoi and Haiphong, the U.S. sought to force North Vietnam back to negotiations. Although the official loss rate was below 2% of total sorties, the rapid series of downings shook American confidence in the B-52's survivability. Each B-52 was worth tens of millions of dollars and carried elite flight crews, yet they fell in the very skies once believed untouchable. The wreckage of those flying fortresses still rests today in Hue Thiep Lake, Hanoi, standing as undeniable proof that technology has limits when faced with human will. If B-52 operations had continued in such a high-threat environment, losses would have only increased, forcing political and strategic withdrawal. When compared to smaller, stealth-capable fighters or modern bombers, the B-52 reveals significant disadvantages. Compact, stealthy aircraft can evade radar detection and maneuver far more effectively, whereas the B-52 is slow, bulky, and easily tracked. In terms of mission efficiency, the B-52 can deliver massive bomb loads, but at a far higher cost and operational risk. Smaller aircraft, meanwhile, can deploy precision-guided munitions with minimal exposure, making them more effective in tightly controlled airspace. The B-52 thus loses its tactical flexibility. It cannot slip into heavily defended zones as smaller jets can. When facing skilled archers armed with advanced weapons, the modern equivalent of surface-to-air systems, such an elephant becomes an easy target. It can be compared to a mighty war elephant of ancient times, powerful and intimidating, yet large and vulnerable. Similarly, the B-52 resembles an old battleship sailing in the age of submarines and missiles, grand and formidable in appearance, but dangerously obsolete when entering waters filled with unseen threats. In the era of advanced technology after the Vietnam War, nations began to favor remote and autonomous systems over traditional bombers.
The
Unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, could conduct reconnaissance and deliver small, precise strikes, with zero risk to pilots. Standoff cruise missiles allowed aircraft to launch attacks from hundreds of kilometers away, never entering high-risk airspace. Smart bombs and precision-guided weapons further reduced the need for direct engagement with heavily defended targets. With these developments, if the Vietnam War had continued or reoccurred, the United States would likely have gradually replaced the B-52 with these low-risk, long-range systems. In doing so, the B-52 would have been phased out from direct combat operations, effectively becoming extinct from modern warfare. Each new mission would bring increasing casualties due to improved SAM coverage and radar targeting. Beyond a 5 to 10% annual loss rate, continued deployment would become unsustainable. The U.S. would increasingly replace B-52 missions with smaller, stealthier aircraft, UAVs, or cruise missiles. The B-52's operational presence would fade, reduced to limited rear support. As the cost, risk, and political pressure outweighed its benefits, the B-52 would be completely withdrawn from Vietnamese airspace, extinct not by destruction, but by strategic elimination. Based on all historical evidence, the number of aircraft downed during Linebacker II, 1972, the strength of Vietnam's air defense network, and the immense cost of continued operations, it is clear that if the war had persisted even a few more months, the flying fortress B-52 would have faced true extinction over Indochina. Designed as a nuclear deterrent for high-altitude bombing, the B-52 was never meant to face a multi-layered, high-density air defense system like that of North Vietnam. Flying into skies filled with SA-2 missiles, radar-guided artillery, and anti-aircraft guns, its strength quickly turned into weakness. Carrying tons of bombs but burdened by its own size and slow maneuverability, the B-52 became the perfect target for Vietnamese gunners. When war drags on, the pressure of losses, costs, and risk forces any superpower to withdraw. Ultimately, the B-52 was defeated not only by missiles or guns, but by the shift in balance, by the human spirit against the machine. When that spirit burns strong enough, even the mightiest symbols of technology can collapse. And thus, Vietnam became the first, and perhaps only, place in history to prove that a flying fortress could fall, and a legend could go extinct.